So in case you couldn't tell, I am a Jamaican.
Duh!
And not just any Jamaican, I am a black Jamaican. And being a black Jamaican, that quite literally means that I am a product of slavery. Well, go on, people that don't know say Yaadman, Etan. And if you couldn't tell by the video title already, we're going to go on an adventure with this video. Let me introduce myself a little bit more personally. My name is Etan Campbell Reed. Let us look at those two last names, Campbell and Reed. What I know about those last names is that they're both Scottish in origin. And based on the fact that there is a Presbyterian church in the community that my mother lived in, I can confidently say that I probably have Scottish ancestry. But just like a lot of black Jamaicans, a lot of us don't know exactly where our African ancestry comes from. So I would like to big up this video sponsor. See them there? African Ancestry. This is my passport to my past. And with this test, I'll be able to trace my maternal lineage, discover the roots of your family tree, and transform the way you define yourself with African ancestry. The pioneer of genetic ancestry tracing for people of African descent. What do we have? The swab envelope. Okay, so I put the swabs into this, I believe, and here are some swabs that I have. Ooh, I'm gonna get a package, a pamphlet here, Knowledge is Power. Learn more about the African ancestry experience. Listen to this. Pioneers in genetic ancestry tracing for the diaspora. A single lineage passed down for thousands of years. Every person has over 1,000 lineages or branches in their family tree. Like many African descendants, your ancestral history is mixed and you are unsure which branches are based in Africa, European, or other ancestries. Okay. But not all your DNA is mixed. Our testing process focuses on a single lineage passed down unchanged from generation to generation for the past 2,000 years to reveal your ancestry. An African result will reveal your modern day African country and ethnic group of origin. Now, even though I can guess and say that I have ancestors from Nigeria, potentially from Ivory Coast, I feel relatively confident in Ghana. I have no idea which ethnic groups to guess. And this will reveal all of this to me. Okay, so the matriclan tests maternal ancestry by analyzing the mitochondrial DNA. Women and men inherit exclusively from their mothers. You will learn the ancestry of one branch of your family tree through your mother's lineage.
What me if you do? Tell them about their mother?
Your results are the same for your mother, grandmother, siblings, maternal aunts and uncles, maternal cousins, children, and your daughter's children. They even gave me the return label to send it back to them so they can test my kit. So before you do tests like this, at least 3 hours before, you're not supposed to use mouthwash or toothpaste. Why am I such a hygienic youth? Not supposed to use caffeine or alcohol. I didn't drink anything besides from water this morning. And do not smoke. Do rinse your mouth out twice with water. Okay. These were things that I was wondering if anything that you may eat or consume or certain habits might get in the way of your DNA testing, and apparently yes. Alright, let me go rinse out my mouth. After rinsing out my mouth, I collected my DNA samples on all 3 swabs and sent it off in the mail. So when I shot the first part of this video, I was in the US. And a few weeks have passed, and well, I guess it's appropriate that now I reach back on my yard, me there at Jamaica. And I have my results for my African ancestry DNA test. And this has been a cathartic experience. This has been a spiritual experience even, to find out who my maternal ancestors are. Firstly, I just want to say thank you again to Gina and African Ancestry for this opportunity. So I just want to show you guys my DNA reveal and introduce you to my maternal ancestors?
I have guesses. I have educated guesses, but I don't know what the full extent could be.
I'm curious about your educated guesses.
Okay.
Well, I'm curious about what do you know about you did the maternal test.
Yes.
And what do you know about your mother's people?
My mom has no idea. The most I can say is that due to my father's last name and my mother's last name, it's very obvious to see the Scottish influence. My mother grew up in a place called Cascade, Hanover, in Jamaica, and right where she lived is a Presbyterian church. That tells me enough about the Scottish lineage.
Mm,
My educated guesses would be obviously West Africa, maybe Igbo, Yoruba, Akan, Iwe, somewhere around those areas is where I would, if I were to guess, those are where I would guess.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you decide to take the test?
I did this because I felt like it's very important to understand where we're coming from with clarity, and particularly I was impressed with African Ancestry because, I mean, one, you guys, I mean, unlike other DNA services, you guys have the largest African DNA database. So you'd be able to tell me more than just country or modern day countries. You'd be able to tell me ethnic groups. You'd be able to tell me more about that culture. When I moved to the United States, I moved to Georgia 10 years ago. And during that time, when I went to school, that gave me the opportunity to meet more international students and meet people from around the world. So I was able to interact and connect with various different people, and including a lot of Africans. And in doing so, I was able to not only just learn about their ethnic groups and learn about their cultures, but I was able to see similarities in real time. There's the educated guesses because I know words that we use in Patois go right back to West Africa, go right back to Akan, go right back to Igbo, go right back to Yoruba. So those are so parts of that. In addition to what I learned in school, is where my educated guesses came from. But in doing the test, it would give me certainty.
Oh, are you ready to find out?
I'm ready.
So, as you know, just as a refresher, we used your mitochondrial DNA, which is
Mhm.
DNA that you inherited strictly from your mother.
Yes.
That never changed. When she passed it to you, it didn't change. And then,
Right.
do you have siblings?
Yes. I have one sibling from my mom.
Okay, so you and your sibling have the exact same mitochondrial DNA.
Yes.
She got it from your grandmother,
Yes.
unchanged, who got it from her mother and her mother. So these results are based on DNA in your body today that is
Yes.
identical to your female ancestor 500 to 2,000 years ago.
Okay.
And we found results. We found people who share the same mitochondrial DNA as you in
Mm-hmm.
2 present day countries.
Okay.
And as we were discussing language, I think it's really interesting, these 2 countries. So, and they're not in any kind of order. I'm just going to say one is Bioko Island. And Bioko Island is one of 5 islands off the coast of Equatorial Guinea.
Ah.
It is the northernmost island, which makes it almost closer to Cameroon than to Equatorial Guinea. It's where
Okay.
the capital of Equatorial Guinea is housed, Malabo. But what's interesting historically, because you clearly are a student of history,
Yes.
historically, Bioko Island was first colonized. I was going to say conquered,
Yeah.
colonized by the Portuguese.
Okay.
And they seeded this. So that was, yeah, that was in the 1600s. And
Mm-hmm.
they ceded it to Spain in 1778.
1770. Okay.
That was in exchange for the rights to what we now call Brazil.
Ah, okay.
Interesting, right?
Right.
That makes Bioko Island the only Spanish speaking country. in Africa.
Okay. In Africa, right. Mm-hmm.
Culturally, the people, the Bubi people, is who we found your connection to on Bioko Island. And there
Okay.
are other groups on the island, but the Bubi are indigenous to Bioko Island.
Ah, okay.
Another thing that is interesting here is that the Bubi are a matrilineal society. So inheritance is through the mother.
Mm.
So because those people are indigenous to Bioko Island, there's a lot of retention of the cultures and the traditions and the practices and the such. There was
Mm-hmm.
a documentary done in the early 2000s, I think it was 2005, called Motherland: A Genetic Journey.
Yes.
I think it's a BBC documentary, and we traced the ancestries of some Black Brits, and I'm pretty sure that the woman who we traced to Bioko Island was Jamaican, of Jamaican heritage.
Okay.
And they took her to Bioko Island. So you got to watch the documentary, and I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube.
Okay.
She's then interacting, and they tested a bunch of people on the island and found someone with that exact mitochondrial DNA. So she was able to be
Ah, it's on
connected.
the relative.
Yeah. And it's
Amazing.
I'm not gonna do a spoiler alert, but I think you'll learn a lot
Okay.
watching that documentary. So that's where we found one match for you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Now, historically, these countries were the borders were artificially and politically drawn, right? And
Right.
what we call a country today is just that present day country. I heard you mention
Absolutely.
that earlier. And so
Right.
what we find is that because of the movements between the movements of people across these artificial borders, we often find shared lineages. Now,
Okay.
Bioko Island is an island, obviously, so it doesn't have a shared border, but it is very close to the country of Cameroon, which is the
Right.
other country where we found shared genetic lineages for you. So we
Okay.
have people living on Bioko Island, Bubi people who share your same mitochondrial DNA, and there are people living in Cameroon who share your same mitochondrial DNA. And there's movement between Cameroon and Bioko Island.
Right.
Within Cameroon, we found your ancestry among the Tikar people.
Tikar. Okay.
And the Tikar are the artists and the artisans of the community. The Tikar had writing, like the written word, a written language, prior to the arrival of any Europeans. They had printing, physical printing of the word prior to the arrival of any Europeans. And so a lot of the art that you see representing Cameroon is often Tikar masks. I think when you see a Tikar mask, you'll be like, oh, okay, I may have seen this before. So the Tikar people are one of the groups. They were the home of the Tikar, if you will, is in Bankim, Bankim in Cameroon.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
they have a very powerful origin story. So that's something that you can explore. I can
Okay.
take you in that direction.
Okay.
And,
Please.
we also found matches among Hausa people and
House.
Fulani people.
Fulani. Okay.
Now, the Fulani are nomads, as you know, and so Fulani are found in almost every West African country. They move across the Sahara to the Sahel, trading their wares. Very distinctive. So, if we talk about the Tikar people as being the artists and artisans, we know the Fulani because of their beauty. We know the Fulani because of their features. We know the Fulani because of their earrings. We wear Fulani earrings here. I'm sure women in Jamaica wear
Um,
Fulani earrings. We know the Fulani for the way they adorn themselves. And then the Fulani and the Hausa are most often found in Nigeria, which is right next door to Cameroon. They share a 2,000-mile border north to south. And
Right.
so, again, people can live in different places. They can have different traditions and practices and beliefs, languages, but have the same genetics.
Yes.
And so that's why we were able to find these, I guess this is 4 groups for you across 2 very closely located countries
Yes.
geographically. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the African Ancestry family.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you. And I had a little bit of time to look up Jamaica and Cameroon, and there were a significant number of enslaved Cameroonians who were
Yes.
taken to Jamaica. And so
Yes.
um, this result makes perfect sense. And I'm
Yes.
excited about your exploration and how you're going to use this information and how it will inform you, how it will inform your family. I'm very excited to see how that unfolds.
You know, oh boy, I'm getting a bit emotional on this one. Just a few months ago, uh, I had my own personal discovery, having a conversation with my mother, and I was just asking her, like, questions about how she perceive, like, how does she perceive the world? How does her senses work? And in doing so, I recognized I was a lot more like my mother than I expected, you know? And you saying, especially talking about the artistic background of these Africans, it touches me simply because I chose this career. I chose this career because it felt like the right thing to do, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay. That makes so much sense. And my mom is the artistic one, so I'm filled with joy at the moment. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. Woo. Okay.
You should be filled with joy. You're filled with joy. The ancestors are happy too. You know better than most the importance of our connection to the ancestors, and you
Right.
have just unlocked a connection or plugged in. You have just plugged
Right.
into a connection that's been there, but you didn't quite know what it was.
Right.
You're living the legacy, and you're actively living the legacy. And you know why? Because you have the DNA, the mitochondrial DNA of those women. It's
Right.
the exact same DNA. It did
Right.
not change.
Right.
And so you really are unlocking the power of that DNA and mitochondrial DNA. I don't know if you know this, and you know I'm not a scientist, but I'm telling you what I've learned.
Right.
The mitochondria provides the energy for the cell.
Right.
So what we get from our mothers is what enables our cells to function.
Right.
And we've now made a connection for you using that DNA. And I mean, it's joyful, it's powerful, it's amazing, it's going to be transformative for you. Um, people like reveals. They like to find out in person, and you never know how you're going to react.
Right.
You never know. Some people go screaming and hollering, and other people other people have to take a moment, they're letting it sink in. And so it's my honor to share this time with you. I'm really honored that you chose us. You chose us for the reasons that we believe are the right reasons. And um, yeah, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
I had no idea finding out who the people who contributed to only half of me. I had no idea that finding out these people's identity would solidify who I am as a person. There's certain thoughts and certain things that feel like instinct to me, and I had no idea that that was simply DNA. It's amazing to know that thank you, African Ancestry, for allowing me to plug in. Thank you, African Ancestry, for allowing me to plug in and to know who my family is. I want to go to Africa. I want to travel for go to Africa. I always had Ghana on my bucket list. I want to visit the UNESCO World Heritage Site. I want to see the door of no return with my own 2 eyes and stand there with my own 2 feet. And now I want to go to Cameroon. No, I want to go to Equatorial Guinea. No, don't make no jokes about no Ibang. Me no want to hear nothing about no Beltasar. I want to go to Bioko Island. I want to see where my people came from. Big up on yourself every time. And don't wait for Black History Month to figure out your Black history. Later. Oh, and yes, you can use my promo code Yaadman25 to get a little discount on your order for AfricanAncestry.com. Unravel the mysteries of your African DNA. Figure out and get your passport to your past. Plug it in to your ancestors. Thank you guys so very much. I'm out.